a healthy marriage is going to help overcome that loneliness that is epidemic.
Sure. And many women find meaning not just in individual achievement, but in being part of us as a couple, that shared mission, that shared identity. We are the Harveys, going out and making a difference in the world in our reach for Christ. You may be one choice away from a thriving marriage. Welcome to the Operation Thriving Marriage podcast with Brian and Jennifer Harvey. All right, welcome back to the Operation Thriving Marriage podcast. I've got myself, Jennifer Harvey, here with my husband, Brian Harvey. We have Todd here making sure that we sound great. So, props to our amazing producer there. And this is an interesting episode that we're talking about marriage benefiting women. And Brian and I have been talking about this over the last several weeks because I feel like there is a lot in the media in popular books and magazines describing how life for married women is worse than life for single women.
This actually started with a Facebook reel that you shared with me of this woman listing this litany of reasons why marriage was bad for women.
Oh, sure. We see a lot of disdain and hatred targeted at Christianity and Christian views of marriage, and we see a lot of vitriol from trolls on social media.
Oh, there's some haters out there.
Oh, there's some major haters out there, and we've recently had a post out there where we've talked about in an earlier podcast episode about avoiding a ministry burnout, because that's a problem in marriage, and just some of the things that people just kind of jump on and say, it's just kind of crazy stuff.
Well, just hateful stuff. They're mad at God. They're mad at Christianity. But if you'd like to, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and X.
That's right. Yeah.
And we don't post a lot on X, but feel free to look us up on Facebook and Instagram or OperationThrivingMarriage.com, and you can engage with us too. You can send us hate mail if you want. That's okay. But we'd much prefer to hear what you're thinking about marriage and how we could support you.
Oh, no doubt about it. But what we've seen just kind of in more popular media right now is many people will see marriage for women as being very old-fashioned, holding women back, and just fundamentally misogynistic. And it's just really an interesting kind of thing. I think that just as time has gone on, it's almost saying that there's no place for marriage in society. And part of that is saying because it's not helpful to women or it's problematic for women.
Yet just sociologically, fundamentally, without families, society collapses.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's the reality. You look at the history of humanity. It's true. And the General Social Survey, which is this big survey, it's been going on for decades. There's a lot of research in it, and it really offers some compelling statistical data to the contrary of the popular belief that marriage is bad for women.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I mean, it's like there are so many positives about me being married to you, Brian. It's just an awesome kind of thing. But what I will say is, I can say that even in the midst of us right now dealing with you having had surgery on your big toe, and you're not able to drive now. So it's like my husband isn't able to drive for a month or more.
I'm pretty much useless right now.
Well, I don't want to say you're useless now, but it's just that, just the normal responsibilities that I would have for the household and working and things like that. It's just that there's more for me to do because you can't. But obviously, if stuff had happened to me, if I had had that kind of surgery, you'd be saying the same kind of thing about me. But it's just that, sometimes you're shifting things around. But what I'm trying to say is, even in light of these extra responsibilities that I have, I still think that there are positives of us being married. It's good to be married to a partner where it's like we're in this together, we're supporting each other. We're silly together, we laugh together. It's just a really great kind of thing. And we do want to talk to you today about how marriage is beneficial to women today. Thank you very much.
And we're not going to offer the useless comparisons to the past that a lot of conservative media will do, or how marriage provided women opportunities and security that single women couldn't have prior to the women's liberation movement.
Because
Yes.
we're not living in that time.
No, right. I mean, it is true that there was a time and place where marriage was really the only opportunity for safety and security for women, and being single was either a death sentence or the only way you're going to survive is prostitution. That existed in culture. That's not today. So we're not going to focus on that. And we're also not going to sugarcoat things. Marriage takes hard work to be healthy.
Absolutely. It does. And it's so worth it.
Yeah, it takes two people working hard together to make it thriving. So, and let me highlight this really quick. It takes two people working to make a thriving marriage. It only takes one person to destroy a marriage. It takes you working together.
That's exactly it. And I found that many women feel pressure to have it all by themselves.
Whatever that is.
Right. Whatever that have it all is, which is career and self-worth and independence. And there's a very popular narrative in pop culture today that leads women now to believe that a marriage is a barrier to their own self-actualization.
Yeah.
And the whole I'm taking this from like an old army advertisement, the be all you can be, but it just seems like there are
By the way, in this household we prefer aim high Air Force.
aim high Air Force. That's right. But just the idea of women believing that marriage would somehow be a block or an obstacle or something that would get in the way of that kind of self-actualization and fulfillment.
And let's be honest, there's some truth to those statements, and marriage and a family does have an effect on women's careers. And there are a lot of married women right now in the news that are leaving the workforce.
Oh, and in huge droves. And I think we're seeing that, and we've seen articles on that
Yeah.
very frequently recently.
But what that doesn't say is why women are leaving.
Sure.
And in 5 and 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, are those women happier or less happy? Just because they're leaving the workforce, just because no one can have it all, women choosing to focus on things that are not economically driven by making money in the workforce doesn't mean that those women are now reverting to some pre-1960s way of life. It doesn't mean they're going to be less happy or less healthy or less fulfilled because they're doing something different.
And some married women are feeling that the marriage hasn't delivered the promised satisfaction that they thought that it would deliver, that they might have been told, by their community or even their husband, right? So
Yeah.
these stories a lot of times are promoted and more accessible than stories of women who are happy in their marriages, in large part because women and just people, right, write blog posts and articles more out of pain and frustration versus an overflowing joy and happiness.
If you're angry, you go on Facebook and troll or write a blog. If you're happy, you go out for a walk or spend time with your spouse.
No doubt about
And
it.
then
You don't
bad news-
complain.
Yeah.
You don't complain.
Yeah.
You don't project it out there, right?
And then also bad news sells better than good news.
Oh, all the time.
And
That's
so
very,
you're gonna
very
see
true.
people, there's going to be less out there that you're going to see in your feed or whatever about the positives of marriage because there's more of it and it makes more money. It's better clickbait to talk about what's wrong with marriage.
And these cultural movements and social narrative have combined to become very widely accepted, even if this is coming from a minority of people, and they're leading others to just avoid marriage altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, let's be honest, these narratives are more likely to lead women outside the church away from marriage than inside the church, because of course the church is still promoting marriage, and Christians are still more likely to get married than not to get married.
But at the same time, even in the church, a focus on purity often will lead couples to rush into marriage for sexual gratification without being truly ready to
Oh
commit
my
to another person.
goodness. And it's like, please don't do that.
Yeah, that's why premarital counseling and slowing things down oftentimes is important. And these narratives do play a role in convincing women in the church that they'd be better off single.
Mm-hmm.
You go through those times in your marriage where it's not happy. It's tough right now. Your husband can't drive and you're taking care of all the kids.
Oh, come on now.
And you get these narratives. And it is, though, both rushing into marriage just because you want to have sex and the church not giving the full picture of marriage and the importance of commitment and what holiness is in marriage. And this narrative, it really has created an environment where it does lead a lot of Christian marriages to end.
And I think that if you look at some data and some key data findings, some of this present GSS findings are just statistically among women ages 18 to 55, married women with children reported being very happy at around 40%.
And about 25% of married women without children reported being very happy.
And 22% of unmarried childless women reported being very happy. And 17% of unmarried women with children reported being very happy. So that's just interesting statistically,
right?
Based on, again, we've got this different narrative, but what do the stats yield and what does it mean?
Yeah. Well, one thing, just because stats can be tricky, right? You can make
Always
the same thing.
Yeah.
What we can say is what we can't say. Let's start with what we can't say because that's what I put in the outline. What we can't say about this is that marriage causes women to be happier. That's a bad use of the data.
Mm-hmm.
There's correlation, not causation. We can't say that get married and you'll be happy because that's not true. But what we can say is that marriage is not a cause of unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's counter to this commonly held belief, and certainly that Facebook reel that you sent me that we were talking about. The data supports that while we can't say marriage is going to make you happier, we can say that marriage is not going to make you unhappy or reduce your happiness or reduce your fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Obviously, there's a lot of other factors, right? Healthy marriages take work, and no marriage is perfectly healthy. Just like no person is healthy all the time, marriages can't be healthy all the time. But a marriage built on Christ has a strong enough immune system that it can fight off the sicknesses when it's unhealthy.
And also, Brian and I talk about this frequently, that while we're talking here right now about women's happiness, here happiness is not the goal of marriage. Holiness is the goal of marriage. We would contend, however, that marriages focusing on holiness get a lot of happiness that's thrown into the mix as a bonus for free. Thank you very much. So I do like to talk about here, why do we as women benefit from marriage? And that's really the way that God designed us to be as a people in general. God bless the single people. They are unique. They're set aside by God, not better, just different, but just the vast majority of people, as described by Scripture, are designed for marriage. Women are created in the image of God to partner with men to extend God's royal rule throughout the planet. And that's the point of the first two chapters of Genesis.
Yeah, marriage provides women with a relationship in which they can experience a human version of God's permanent, unyielding love. Imperfect, because no husband, no man is perfect, but they get something of that experience. And it also provides women with a relationship in which they can express God's permanent, unyielding love to another person.
Right, the mutuality of it.
Absolutely. And then marriage provides women a partner to extend God's extravagant love in the world through hospitality to those around it, people being able to reach out to your neighbors and friends and share love with that, or even having children and extending love in that way.
And also practically, husbands provide emotional support, and having a spouse who sees you, affirms you, and carries this load with you, carries these burdens with you. It's nice to have someone to come home to when you've had a rough day or even a good day, just to kind of share news, share how the day went, be checking in during the day. I know that's what you and I like to do. Just make sure we're checking in during the day, even if it's just, a silly text or, a reel or a meme, just adds to that. Having that emotional support, knowing, that you have that special, partner in that spouse there for you.
And there's an epidemic of loneliness and has been since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And marriage is one way to help overcome. It's not the universal solvent, but a healthy marriage is going to help overcome that loneliness that is epidemic.
Sure. And many women find meaning not just in individual achievement, but in being part of us as a couple, that shared mission, that shared identity. We are the Harveys, going out and making a difference in the world in our reach for Christ.
And I think that's human too. I mean, being able to share identity and share celebrations together. When you were talking about that, it made me think of the difference in a tennis player winning Wimbledon versus a baseball team winning a championship series.
Sure.
That tennis player, I mean, they're excited and the people love them and surround them, but for a baseball team, they've got plastic up in the clubhouse because they're popping champagne and screaming and hollering. As humans, we're communal beings. It's more fun to be at a sporting event than watch it on TV. It's also more draining when your team loses, but you have that experience together, and marriage provides that. It's, hey, we're winning together, not just, oh, yep, I'm winning on my own. Woohoo.
Right, but it's like you're winning together, and you just feel like, even if you lose this thing this time around, there's another opportunity to keep moving forward.
And it's not all on you to achieve
wins.
it.
Absolutely.
You've got teammate to help you get through it together.
Team marriage, we talk about that. Absolutely. It also has the accountability and growth, because marriage forces us to face our blind spots. And I think that you and I do things to direct each other, to just say, did you consider this? Because it seems to me like you didn't see this.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some tact that has to go with it, but that's one of the benefits of us being together. And certainly, I mean, we're talking about for women, it's like, hey, we talked before about marriage being a mirror and you can't see your back in the mirror, I mean, and it's funny to me too, on the television shows, women going to like pick out pants, and they're trying in the dressing room or in those like three-way mirror things, trying to see if their butt looks big in their jeans.
Guilty.
So if you have a husband, he probably won't tell you because he's scared. But anyway.
Oh, but he, in a healthy marriage, should be telling you truth, and
So, maybe you'd look better in those other pants that you bought.
or maybe you have a nice person that works there that can help you with the style. Who knows? That's just fine there too. But the other thing that I think a husband can provide is that community and structure. Your stability of marriage often comes with these broader social supports. You have your shared finances, you have a shared home, you have a shared just kind of rhythm of the day to day to provide that structure for you.
And that's been statistically time and time again to be a force multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
A single person single women, statistically right now, a single woman's wage is higher than a married woman's wage. But that's looking at all single women versus all married women, and single women pushing forward farther in their careers than married women because they took a break for whatever reason. That is statistically true. But when you look at the overall economics of life, the fact that you've got someone to share the chores with in the house, the fact that you're combining incomes, you're combining work, overall, that household of a married couple is going to outperform the household of the single woman every time.
Which is really fantastic. And I know sometimes we'll see the memes of, it's like, I go to work because I want to give my insert cat, insert dog, a better life, right? But and we laugh at that because I mean, everybody loves their pets, but just the reality is when you're part of that team in a household and you have a spouse, you have children, relying on you for these different things, you make sure that you get up and do it, even if you don't feel like it.
Right. And that's the fallacy in the statistics when you compare the married wage versus the single wage, because you're not looking at the household.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to look at the household because that's actually the functional economic unit.
Sure.
The individual is not the functional economic unit.
And we also have some steps to build a thriving marriage where women experience the benefits that God intends. Because, of course, marriage is not meant to be a one-way street where it seems like some of these podcasters, bloggers, some of these things that we've seen producing that false narrative are saying that, marriage is bad for women and only good for men. And that is definitely not what God intends. So to have that thriving marriage where women are experiencing this, it takes work from both the husband and the wife. It's mutuality.
Husbands, it is your responsibility to love your wife like Christ loves the church. I'm going to say that again. Husbands, it is your responsibility to love your wife like Christ loves the church. Ephesians 5:25. If you need to, take that scripture, sticky note, put it on your mirror, memorize it, recite it every night when you go to bed. If you're having trouble with that, easy for me to say. Guys, if you're struggling with this reality, memorize that scripture. That is your God-given responsibility. You own a significant part of your wife experiencing the benefit of marriage because guess what? You're the other person in the marriage. And it takes two people to have a healthy marriage, but one person can destroy it, and you can destroy it by not doing what you're responsible to do.
Oh, sure. And we talk in our book and, in live events about our concept of team marriage. You need to treat your marriage as teamwork. It's like you're not just alongside each other, you're together on mission. And it's important to be operating as that well-oiled and functioning team. You need to focus on healthy actions, that emotional safety first, because a woman who doesn't feel loved can't receive the benefit of the marriage.
Yeah, if you don't feel like you're part of it, you don't feel like your husband cares, you're not going to receive all those other benefits. You have to, as a couple, create that emotional safety. Your spouse should be the safest human relationship that you ever experience.
Mm-hmm. And the other healthy actions include honest communication. Share the joys that you have and that you experience, and any problems or any wounding that you've experienced out in the world. Of course, I'm saying wounding metaphorically, but the burdens and the pressures and as well as the wins and the joy that you have, and within that honest communication as well, you want to make sure that if you get upset or you feel slighted by your spouse, that you don't let resentment build. Brian and I talk about the concept in Song of Solomon about catching these little foxes.
Yeah.
If there are problems, we want to make sure that those are addressed early and often to clear the air and make sure that they don't grow into big, fat, nasty foxes that are problematic, that are going to destroy that garden of your marriage. A husband leads by loving, a wife submits in love, and both are vital, both matter. We talk about this more specifically and more detailed in past podcasts if you want to check those out.
And focus on what you do in the relationship, not what you did at the altar. The ring alone doesn't guarantee the benefit.
Mm-hmm. That's the starting point.
It's the starting point. It's the beginning. It's what happens inside the marriage, the connection, the growth, the holiness. That's where the benefit comes. It's not just, you don't get the benefit just bestowed upon you by the officiant when they sign the marriage license. The benefit comes from working and building it. Just like you don't get the benefit, to go back to the garden metaphor from Song of Solomon, you don't get the benefit just by planting the seed in the ground. You get the benefit from cultivating and caring for the plant to have the ripe tomatoes or whatever it is. You get that benefit from working it, not just putting things down and hoping something happens.
Oh, sure. And that's what we'll often say too is, marriage only works when you work it. You want to align your personal purpose with that marital purpose. If you're finding purpose solely in career or personal success, that can leave a gap because that's not the one thing or the only thing or the best thing to put your focus on. Of course, your focus needs to be on Christ.
And that doesn't mean that pursuing a career is a bad thing for a
Oh,
woman.
absolutely not.
And it can even be something that you enjoy. I mean, we talk a lot about you love being a lawyer.
Yeah, kind of do. Big legal nerd. Love it.
But that can't be the core identity.
Mm-hmm. Or highest calling, because it isn't, never will be. And again, that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy my career, or I don't do well in it and take care of clients well in the practice of law, but it can't be my highest calling, because that's not what God has called me to only or first in life there. It's a call to follow him, and be a wife, be a mom, and be a friend, be a good member of the community and of the church. Marriage offers that dimension of image bearing and service and relational flourishing that can be displayed to your family, to your community, to your neighborhood, to your church. It's just really a beautiful thing. And we keep going back, I think, to just keeping Christ at the center of your marriage. Yeah. Of course, this GSS data, it's valuable. It can show us some associations, but the gospel gives us the why, gives us that purpose, because Christ joins us together. He transforms us, and he further uses marriage to refine and to sanctify us.
The data shows big benefits for married women, especially married with children, which makes a lot of sense. But the benefits don't flow from the status alone. The benefits come from the quality, the presence, and the purpose in God. As a couple, you need to be honest with each other about the benefits you are or are not receiving in your marriage. And that's a huge piece of it. You need to, as a couple, be honest about, hey, are we experiencing the love, the purpose, the fulfillment that we should be in our marriage? And if not, have a conversation. Discuss what's going on, what's keeping it from that. Is it your focus on something outside the marriage, like work? Is it your spouse focusing on something different? Is it just a lack of communication, which oftentimes our experience is couples just don't talk to each other enough. They're so busy, so wrapped up in the daily activities of life, they're too tired to connect. But be honest. Are you receiving the benefits of marriage? This week, ask your spouse. Just ask, in what way do I help you feel seen or loved or valued? And then ask yourself, in what way do I receive being helped, being valued, being known? How am I receiving that from my spouse? In marriage, if both of you aren't winning, neither of you is winning. Thank you for listening to the Operation Thriving Marriage podcast. We appreciate all of you. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and subscribe so other people can find it.
Jen and I started Operation Thriving Marriage to help couples and churches take marriages from merely surviving to thriving. We've got our book, we've got a blog, and resources for our coaching ministry, and you can bring us out for an Operation Thriving Marriage experience. For more information, go to OperationThrivingMarriage.com. That's OperationThrivingMarriage.com.